the company organization you're going to see what they value, what they hold, and see how you what the characteristics you have that can add to the company, not just having the general characteristics, but what specifically will fit that specific company, so that even when the questions come, maybe of the history of what, you'll be able to answer them well and even know what you're getting into.
When you go for the interviews, do you usually go with the mindset that maybe probably these people have their own person, it's just a matter of formality, they're doing this for me? Do you prepare in that kind of line? Because most people do.
Well, okay, in Kenya it's easy to do that, because we usually say you have to know someone in order to get it. But even if that's the case, you still have to give your best, because you never know. Even that person they may have, you may impress them even more than the person they may have. You may make them reconsider it. So it's always the best thing to always put your best foot forward.
As at now, have you been invited for any interview before?
The only interviews I've been in my school paper in the Daystar University called The Involvement, for my writing, and for another one called Daystar Oracle. But for a job, not yet, but I'm planning to.
Okay. So any other question that you might have for the career consultant we have in studio?
Maybe apart from salary, maybe the aspect of clothing. I've had some rumors of dark clothes, bright clothes, I don't know, suit, I don't know, hats, specs, whatever. So is clothing really that important, and is even color that important when going for interview? Yeah, that's my question.
Well, Safin, as you can hear, there are some questions that are coming up directly from location here. Earlier I said I have 2 students, so I'm going to invite the next student so that she can also pitch in the questions that she has, and then you can answer them at once. So tell us your name, and have you ever attended any interview that you were invited?
Oh, thank you so much. My name is Maureen Mumbi, and yes, I've ever attended an interview. I don't know exactly what you want me to say, but maybe the experience I had.
Yes.
First, it was a bit challenging. People expect you to have confidence and other things, and sometimes you might find that you're not really qualified for the job, because they may ask of things that are not on your CV, but at the same time it's according to you to give yourself that confidence. So for me it was quite an experience, because they took me through an aptitude test, they took me through an oral test, asking me questions and getting to know me and whatnot. So I think they were trying to know if I did my research, because I think in an interview you actually need to do research. Research is key. You need to know more about the organization. I did my research, I knew about the organization, how much they pay, because it comes to a question whereby they can ask you, how much salary do you expect? So clearly you cannot start saying you expect like over 100,000, and clearly that job description says it expects 70,000. So you need to do your research as a person and get to know these things.
But you're as good as your quotation. If you ask 100,000, then we definitely will see you as. We'll see you from that perspective. Anyway, the question is, when you're working on your CV, did you work on it while you were still in school, or do you think somebody should be working on their CV after finishing school?
No, I think it's vital for you to have a CV even when you're still on campus, before you even clear university, because it reaches a time where the experiences you had in school and once you're done with school, they're different. So they vary. So with time, you need to keep updating your CV, because you grow in the field that you're in. For instance, I'm doing media, so I may go to somewhere else, get exposure, and grow and continue growing, but I need to update my CV every now and then, because people need to get to know you. Before you go to an interview, the CV is the first thing they get to see, so it's very vital for you to update your CV.
Usually when they are doing interviews, there is this mean-looking panel, you know. When you got through that, did you have some butterflies? And if you had any, how did you handle it so that it doesn't show to the panelists?
I think being nervous and having butterflies, as you call it, is normal. No one should take it as something that is a weakness or anything. For me, I handled it with, at first I was nervous, and I think they noticed I was nervous. So they even told me, take a seat. So I even became a bit comfortable at the same time. But you need to realize that you only have this opportunity. These opportunities don't come every now and then. So when you get them, you need to do your best. Even with the nervousness and what, just have confidence, because these things happen to everyone. We all get interviews every now and then. So just be confident.
As we bring this to a close,
Yes.
do you have any question to our career consultant who is in studio?
Well, I would like to know about, well, there are so many questions to ask about it. In terms of qualifications, because you might find that maybe you did not, like for instance, me, I'm just from campus, and maybe the job requires someone who's more experienced. Is that an issue? Because I may not be that marketable as that person who has had like 3 years experience. So is there an opportunity for me? Like, is there an opportunity for me to be there in that particular job? Like, even though I'm not as marketable as that person who has more exposure and more experience than me, like, is there a way that they can be able to consider us who are just fresh and we are just looking for, we are ready to learn and all that energy? Should they consider us? That's my question.
Well, thank you very much, Maureen. One thing that she has pinpointed is that you can find a job that is indicating that they need a person with 10 years experience, and yet you are a student who has just finished school. So how can this be tackled? Well, for now, Safin, let me hand it back to you so that some of these questions that have been asked here on location can be answered. And I'll try and get more of these students and people who have also have had enough experience on this so that we can have a conversation with them. Over to you, Safin.
Yeah, I really appreciate those questions that you've posed for us, and looking forward to linking up with you again. That is Wycliffe Gori coming to us from Valley Road right here in Nairobi. And today in studio we are talking about career management, just getting to look at some of the basics that we need to know when it comes to your career journey. So before we linked up with Gori, we were actually talking about the career tools that we all ought to have and how you package that to work well for you. And my guest in studio this morning, Jane, talked about 3 very key career tools. She talked about a CV, she talked about a cover letter, and your LinkedIn account. I know that is something that not very many people think is important, but like she puts it, the trend is that your LinkedIn account has to be updated because it's now becoming part of the career tools that you need when you're going for a job interview. So Jane, thank you so much once again for staying with us. You've had, what the young people have, a lot of questions that they have to ask concerning the topic that we're having in studio this morning. I want us to begin there so that we just go into it and answer the questions we have. I have a few. I'll start with the young man who came in before the lady, and the question that he posed, I find it very important because you've done everything at a job interview. You were so good and you're so promising, but the big question comes and they ask you, boom, how much do you want us to pay you? And you're so like, so what do I say? We all need money, a lot of money. But then how do you curtail that question and make sure you answer it in the right way?
Like for him, he's not working, he's in just a maybe clear school, or maybe he gets a job when he's still at school. For me, that would be a very easy question because just say then I'm currently not working, but you know the minimum that you need to be able to come from wherever you come from, you know, for your fare, for your house, for your upkeep. Maybe you're able to do that math and know that you can only take this job if it gives you a minimum of ABCD. So you can do that computation and ask for the minimum, or you can tell them I'm currently not working, make me an offer in line with your budgets. So don't rush to giving a figure, because unless you know what they pay people that range. So don't rush to give a figure. And if you're not working, like them who are in school, sana it's more about the opportunity to be able to get that experience. So again, don't turn down a job because of that, because and you don't have the experience. Because I keep seeing it in the we have many WhatsApp groups and people post jobs, and part of the thing when they put salaries, you got people saying like, people with a degree, how can you be paying them this much? So sometimes it's not always about the money. It will be you want to get that experience, which will make you now step up, even in the money that you'll be asking now going forward. So if you're not working, you can always ask them to make you an offer. and then you can discuss from there. If they insist that you give them a figure, again, you know the minimum that you'd require not to get into debt going to work for them.
Yeah.
And sometimes if they're not paying and you need that experience, again, you know how to reorganize yourself to be able to fill that. Okay. But that should not be a point of departure.
Because at times you might get a very good opportunity,
yes.
but they are not paying. But it's good for your growth.
It's good for your growth, depending with your level in life. Yeah. If you're not working or you're in school, even an internship, that the payment should not be your drive. And even when they ask you, I insist, don't rush to giving a figure. If you're working and you're already earning a next amount of money, again, you don't have to move for the same unless there are other compelling reasons, like maybe you don't like where you work or whatever that it is, or maybe you like this particular employer. So you can tell them that currently I'm earning this much, these are my benefits, make me an offer. Again, don't rush to give a figure.
Let it come.
But sometimes you'll have a partner that insists. You'll meet a partner that goes like, no, tell us your expectation. So again, I expect that you'll have thought about that even before you go to the interview. Maybe load your current interview with 20%, 30%. If you're able to do some research and know how much they earn, you do your research. But from my experience, most of the times, maybe you know nobody who works there, and it would be impossible for you to actually get a range of what even they even pay people. So negotiate from your perspective and assume that they do have good practices and pay you within what they pay people in the organization. And at that particular, and if you get and find that they actually pay people more than you requested for, be satisfied, be content, because at the point of requesting, you were okay with that figure. So go for the opportunity. Don't go with bitterness of people earn more than I am and all that. Go with that contentment, and you can always now plan your career from there. To work there for a few years or so and move to elsewhere for bigger or forever, or maybe internally you're able to now follow your forever. But before you go for the interview, think about that question. If they insist, you'll have loaded your margins, knowing that if I have to take this job, I can only move for an extra 20%. I can only move for an extra 30%. And all that. But always first by giving what you have, your current package, let that form the basis for your negotiation.
All right, so what I get from what you're saying is there's that pre-meeting that you have to have with yourself, calculate your expenses and make sure that you're comfortable earning this much, then put in a little extra on top. So when you go there, you just know, like, if you give me this much, I'll be comfortable, I'll be okay, I can take care of my expenses. But then if you get another bonus on top, that's fine. So it depends on how you can negotiate the bonus, right?
Yeah, and in terms of negotiating for that, because sometimes you can even ask for ABC for maybe 40,000 and you're given 35, or they don't want to give you that. You can actually talk now about the negotiation. Get to understand when they do their pay reviews. Get to understand at what point of the year are you joining them. Maybe at the point that you're joining, you'll not even qualify for the pay review. So those are some of the questions that you can actually ask to be able to push for a bigger pay raise, but that should not be a point of departure if you really need that particular job.
All right. All right. He also asked something to do with...
And also on that side, like sometimes I've seen people who, actually I think 2 people this year, who offered a salary. They are not working, they have had bigger jobs before, and they offered this job with a lower salary than they earned before, even though now currently they are not working. And instead of having this conversation face to face, this person, actually both of them wrote emails to the HR office, and one of them never heard from them to date, even though he had already been given an offer. So when he wrote back asking about the question, where can I be given more than ABCD and all that, that person never said they will revert back. They never came back. I think it has been now 5 months or so. They have not. So probably those people moved on and had someone else. So when again you have to negotiate about salary, please just book for a face-to-face interview.
And when you show you're money hungry, you can lose that opportunity.
You lose the opportunity.
It's all about what's your input.
So think about the negotiation and then go and discuss in person if you can, so that you're able to conclude on the table that it's okay. Then if you're not able to give that, I'm okay, or whatever that it is, have a conclusive discussion on that.
And there are times you can take a lesser pay. Tell us a bit about circumstances that
well, your people have taken lesser pay.
Because people sometimes even you can take less than you're paid currently. So what circumstances can
it depends with your personal situation. Like I'll give you my own personal story where I had to move for a pay cut because I had wanted to really go to management. And I think I'd gone for 2 or so interviews. They had liked me. The feedback was genuine, so good, but we really wanted someone who has at least some years of experience in management. So when this opportunity came that actually was giving me a management job, but the pay was actually less than what I was actually earning, and there was a substantive amount. But I did my mother, and I was like, even if I took this job for way less, it will not be a big impact on my financial status. So
But
I
it
took
will
the
give you
job.
what you want.
But it
for
will
your
give me
next
to a
level.
different field. It will give me different exposure. I was able to get to management. I was able to now sit with senior management team. It was a whole different range of experience, and in my mind, I knew this was setting me up for bigger things. So I made that decision. And I've also seen people again. There's one time we offered another lady a job as a communications person. She was working for the private sector, but she didn't want to come up to the development world, to the NGO world. And she said, I am more interested in coming to the development world, doing communication for development, and I would be willing to take, because we offered her the maximum of the grade. We had grades, and the maximum that we could do was this much. So it didn't matter whether we had liked her how much. If she was not to take our maximum pay for that grade, we would not have done anything else. So she took it, and that job actually set up for very big things, because now she's actually in charge of Africa.
Wow.
Yeah, in the development world. She works for certain NGO as a communications person, now in charge of the whole of Africa.
Wow.
And I'm sure it has paid